Today's lesson is on isosceles and equilateral triangles and triangle angle and side relationships. We're going to start off with a couple of theorems based on the isosceles triangles we learned about the other day. Okay, the first one, if you read it, it's the top of your page. If a triangle is isosceles, then the base angles are congruent. Okay, so first of all, you're starting with an isosceles triangle. Okay, if you have an isosceles triangle, that means it has two congruent sides. Okay, whenever you have an isosceles triangle, then the base angles are congruent. The base angles are the angles that are opposite those congruent sides. So this angle and this angle have to match. Okay, so whenever you see an isosceles triangle, you can go ahead and immediately mark those two base angles congruent. The next theorem, if the base angles of a triangle are congruent, then the triangle is isosceles. Okay, so in this one, we know the base angles are congruent. That's the first part of the theorem. And then the next part says if the base angles are congruent, the triangle is isosceles. Isosceles means it has two congruent sides. Okay, so you can go backwards and know that those two sides are congruent. Okay, head down to the next part. Here's an example. Okay, so you see the triangle is isosceles because it's got those two congruent marks on sides GF and GH. Remember the first theorem, when the two sides are congruent, that means those two base angles are congruent. So angle H and angle F have to match. Okay, so we see angle H is 65. That means angle F has to also be 65 degrees. Okay, once we've got that much, we can find angle G. The three angles of a triangle always add up to 180. So angle G, we'll say is X, plus the 65 for F, plus the 65 for angle H has to equal 180. Okay, and then I just need to solve for X. So I can combine the like terms. X plus 130 equals 180. Subtract 130 from both sides. X equals 50 degrees. Okay, sweet. Go to example 2. Okay, this triangle has two congruent angles. Think of the second theorem we covered. If two angles are congruent, then those opposite sides have to be congruent also. So here and here. Now that I know the two sides are congruent, that means these two have to be the same length. So if I want to find x, I just set them equal to each other. 4x plus 4 equals 32, and then solve the equation. So minus 4 on both sides. 4x equals 28. Divide both sides by 4. X equals 7. Okay? And then I'm left to figure out the last two parts, segment RT and segment RS. Well, RT, I have these congruent marks on. It's got to match up with that 32, so I'm just going to go ahead and write it in. RS, though, is this segment. It doesn't have to be congruent to the two others, so what I've got to do is plug in x, which leaves me with 7 plus 5, which is 12. So RS is 12. Okay, go ahead down to the next part. Opposite means across from in geometry. Okay, so here we're focused on which angles and sides are opposite each other. Okay, so if you look at the first part, angle X is opposite. Well, this is angle X. If I look opposite or across from X, I see the side YZ. So segment YZ is opposite angle X. Okay, the next part is angle Y. Angle Y is across from this segment, XZ. Okay, so segment XZ is opposite angle Y. And then the last one, angle Z, opposite XY. Okay, so segment XY is opposite angle Z. Okay, the reason why we pay attention to which sides and angles are opposite each other is because that's going to help us decide what the smallest, medium, and largest angles of the triangle are. Okay, the next section, the smallest angle of a triangle is opposite the smallest side. The medium angle of a triangle is opposite the medium side. The largest angle of a triangle is opposite the largest side. Okay, so if you take a look at the examples and you want to put the sides in order from smallest to largest, all you've got to do is identify the angles from smallest to largest and look opposite each one. Okay, so of the three angles here, we've got 84, 59, and 37. 37 is the smallest angle. Okay, so if I look opposite the smallest angle, that side, XK, that's my smallest side. Okay, and then I want the medium side, so I look for the medium angle, that's 59. Opposite the medium angle is segment XD. So XD is the medium side. Okay, and then the biggest angle is the 84, so I look opposite the biggest angle, KD, becomes my biggest side. Okay, same thing with the next example. Look at my angles. I've got 30, 60, and then that little box means 90 degrees for the other one. Okay, so if I want the smallest side, the smallest of these three angles is 30. So the smallest side would be VH. Medium angle is 60, so opposite that, VT would be the medium side. And then last 90 degrees, that's my biggest angle, so I look opposite that one, that's TH. That has to be my biggest side. Okay, so if you know all the angles, you can always figure out the order of the sides from smallest to largest. Okay, this one, number 4, is opposite. List the angles of the triangle from smallest to largest. So in this example, we're going to know all the sides, we don't know the angles. Okay, but it works the same way. If I figure out the smallest side of 16, 31, and 12, 12 is the smallest, so the smallest angle is opposite. Okay, so angle B. Next, opposite the 16, the middle side is the middle angle, angle Q. And then last, the largest angle is going to be opposite the largest side. So 31 is the biggest side, so angle X is the biggest angle. Okay. Part B, 19, 18, 17. 17 is the smallest one, so opposite 17 is angle X, angle S. Angle S. 18 is the middle, so opposite 18 would be angle M. And then last 19 is the biggest one, opposite 19 would be angle C. Okay, that's the biggest angle. Okay, so from there, based on this example, we should be able to put the sides in order from smallest to largest if we know the angles, and we should be able to put the angles in order from smallest to largest if we know the sides.